Tonight, the government's plan to attract and retain doctors in regional South Australia, and police frustrated after multiple drug drivers were nabbed in Whyalla.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. The state government has crafted a new medical workforce plan to help fill a shortage of doctors in regional areas. The Health Minister says the strategies will aim to retain a mix of both senior doctors and medical trainees.
It's the doctor shortage emergency. Most on the front line are describing the same.
Very serious, and it is getting worse by the day.
The struggle to attract doctors to towns like Port Augusta, increasing the strain on the system.
Demand for our services are increasing as the day progresses.
Government figures show there are currently 60 unfilled positions in regional South Australia, as well as 35 vacancies in the GP training program.
Not only do we have trouble delivering services currently, but we also don't have a future supply of GPs coming into the country.
But those numbers could drop under a new medical workforce plan by the state government. Strategies include expanding the exposure that medical interns face in rural hospitals, in addition to new support measures for senior doctors. The Health Minister says these retention issues run deeper than pay packets, and this plan will allow remote medical practitioners to feel supported.
Perhaps within a cluster rather than having a single GP operating alone.
The plan has been moulded through consultation with the medical community, but the state government is urging the public to provide feedback over the next 2 months.
To make sure that they get the health workforce they need.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Changes are set to be made to the design of Port Wakefield's $90 million overpass. Locals have voiced concerns over the original design, saying it creates a secondary bottleneck at Balaclava Road. New amendments will focus on avoiding the busiest part of town and help manage the 8,500 vehicles which travel through the town each day. Whyalla Police says it's planning to double its roadside operations after 5 road users were allegedly caught driving under the influence of drugs last weekend. Police say one driver was detected with an illicit substance in their system and had a young child in the vehicle. Shari Hams has the story.
Whyalla Police detected 5 drivers with methamphetamine in their systems over the weekend, and they say they don't take these offences lightly.
We're disgusted at the results, particularly the fact there was one driver in particular who was detected driving with an 8-year-old child in the back seat.
Authorities saying a pattern found between these drivers, all alleged to have registered the same substance.
The fact that methamphetamine was the key drug in each of the cases. Those driver screening tests can detect speed, cannabis, but in all these cases it was methamphetamine.
The weekend's detection prompting police to ramp up roadside operations.
Police are going to redouble their efforts in this regard, and we've been focusing our traffic operations on the Eyre Peninsula for quite some time, but the reality is that people are not understanding the messages that we continue to reiterate.
That message being to heed warnings from authorities.
It's disgusting to think that in this day and age people still get behind the wheel with the substance in their system. And my only advice can be to people, first of all, is don't take drugs, but if you do, for God's sake, don't drive.
Police say the Whyalla community can be reassured they're proactively tackling this issue.
A 34-year-old man and 23-year-old woman from Whyalla have been arrested after allegedly driving a stolen blue Holden sedan to the Christie's Beach Magistrates Court yesterday. The vehicle was parked nearby when checks revealed the car had been stolen from Blakeview on the 23rd of July. Both people were arrested and charged with illegal use of a motor vehicle and will appear in court on that charge. Students in the Mid-North have heard the harrowing story of a road crash survivor in a bid to educate them about staying safe on our roads. The Metropolitan Fire Service hosting the talk to ensure young drivers receive warnings on the dangers of irresponsible driving behaviour.
This is Samantha Pierce, who as a teenager was involved in a terrifying road incident which led to horrific consequences. Today sharing her story with students in the Mid-North.
I have no memories from the age before 17, unfortunately, so I don't remember my childhood or growing up and things like that.
After numerous operations, a diagnosis of epilepsy and PTSD, Samantha is still recovering from that fateful night. She decided to get into a car with what she calls a reckless driver. And now she's looking to steer the lives of local children away from tragedy. Samantha teaming up with the MFS for its touring road awareness program.
Basically, we go out and just educate students and adult groups as well now about the inherent dangers of risky behaviours on our roads.
This year's powerful motto of "Your choices reflect your safety," hoping to curb irresponsible driving from the next generation.
Until you've got somebody standing in front of you that actually has first-hand experience, it doesn't add up. So I think in general they really do take home the message.
It was so deep, and it just makes you realise how aware you need to be on the roads and not get distracted and do the right thing.
2019 has proven to be a devastating year on South Australia's roads, with 68 fatalities and 276 serious injuries.
Making that one wrong choice, that could be the end of their chances to live life and enjoy it.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The monthly Broken Hill Council meeting is soon to get underway at the local chambers, and there's a number of items on tonight's agenda. The city's mayor says the public gallery is open to locals who want to see decisions being made.
At council's meetings, there's a lot to talk about, and the mayor is urging residents to see it firsthand.
It really helps reduce any of that misinformation, and I'm always concerned about the misinformation that is spread out there and shocked sometimes, to be honest.
Councillors are expected to have a long evening tonight with an agenda full of big talking points, among them a mayoral minute supporting the partnership of Landcare Broken Hill and the council to green up the city.
As funding comes into issue, because it does, and we know that we're still in a deficit budget, we'll take that back to make sure council endorses any funding contribution.
An item on the agenda includes a motion from Councillor Kennedy for $200,000 to be put into the 2020-2021 budget to upgrade the O'Neill Sport Complex. The General Manager commenting that it may be premature to put money aside without a proper scope.
We're trying to get the councillors to think about planning for the budget for next year. Don't bring anything up after the budget's decided. Let's put it in the planning process.
Councillors will consider 14 individual reports on different topics, including development applications and the children's sport voucher. 5 confidential matters will also be decided before the meeting is closed.
Some of them are around looking at the future of the airport. Others are looking about how council behaves in the manner we do. The part of it is that council needs to make a resolution.
Patrick Ryankey, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, tough terrain to be tackled in the Flinders Ranges, and Broken Hill students start planning for their future. Welcome back. Close to 100 motorbike riders are preparing to tackle the tough terrain of the Flinders Ranges for this year's Outback Postie ride. The 4-day event will also tick off one of its most significant milestones yet.
Braving the bumps, rocks and hills of the Flinders Ranges on a motorbike renowned for delivering the mail. The Outback Postie ride is certainly not for the faint-hearted.
The idea is to ride, the harshest country we can find in the Flinders Ranges on what you'd say is probably the most inappropriate bike to take it on.
But for Apex member Greg Kipling and the other 96 riders, this year has a special focus.
Sadly, last year we lost one of our great mates and organisers, Justin Vomard.
The man they call Buzz lost his short battle with cancer. The memories of his friend, something Greg has fixed to the front of his bike.
We fondly remember Buzz and we'll honour him this year.
The journey is set to tick over a fundraising total of $1 million since it began 13 years ago. The majority of the funds helping build the Copper Coast retreats, allowing a free holiday for families touched by cancer.
Good to get away and try and forget about what you're going through or celebrate your recovery from cancer.
The Posties will kickstart their engines next Thursday, where they'll take off for one of their biggest Outback rides yet.
Obviously hundreds of people have been involved over the years, the riders and all those generous people out there that have donated money.
For details on how to support the cause, visit our Facebook page. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Students from across the Eyre Peninsula have today showcased their science and engineering skills, competing in a tough challenge in Whyalla. Female attendance recorded at its highest, with the event previously dominated with male participants.
200 students from far and wide filling the Whyalla Recreational Centre.
The challenge activity is really catered for the Year 9, Year 10 kids to do STEM-based activities, so science, technology, engineering and mathematics-based activities.
This event, run by Rotary volunteers who say the large number of participants is evidence of its success.
It's about developing a creative mindset. And it doesn't matter whether you're male or female.
Students are tasked to different challenges against other teams, some big and some small.
We've all been separated into different groups to try various STEM challenges. My group personally is making 2 chairs and a table.
It's quite fun, I think, because we get to work with our friends together and use all of our ideas and combine them to make something amazing. Yeah.
With a Port Lincoln teacher bringing this event to regional South Australia.
Went to a challenge day and just watched it unfold, and as soon as I saw it run I thought, yes, this is something we need in our region. So essentially I simply brought that existing program here to Whyalla.
Yes, it gets them out of the classroom, it gets them networking with other students across our region, hopefully make some new friends as well.
And teachers say that this is a step forward in trending different career paths.
And think carefully about their subject choices into senior school and hopefully pick some maths and science subjects that can open up some career paths for them.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Broken Hill and Menindee High School students have spent the day focusing on their employment pathways at a careers expo. Hundreds of kids getting a taste of which education and jobs are available to them in the Far West region.
Heads out of the books and looking toward the future.
It provides that opportunity for students to actually talk to these people that are working in the industry.
Today, Broken Hill's younger generation were starting to think about life after high school, university, TAFE, a gap year or just straight into the workforce.
There's such a great range of health careers available in Broken Hill. That's been a great opportunity. Nursing, maybe a midwife or something.
I've just been looking at all the tradie kind of work as much as I can, just trying to get the knowledge.
In total, over 40 stalls were open, everything from corrective services to country university, from dentistry to Outback pharmacies.
When I was going through school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So an expo was great because you could talk to people that were doing that job, you could actually investigate and see what would suit you or hear about the practicalities.
Every stall operator excited to be helping kids shape their future, maybe too excited.
There's no real pressure, I don't think, but I feel as if dental is a really cool thing to do, yeah.
Students start coming to these expos when they're in Year 9, a long way off from graduating. But the seniors say it's never too early to start thinking about what you want to do and how to achieve it.
Once you get to Year 12, it's very helpful towards the end because you start to figure out what you want to do, what information there is, and what jobs there you can do with the marks you get through school.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
5 students from Port Perry's Uni Hub have received scholarships, allowing them to further their study in the Spencer Gulf. The money proving to provide some financial relief, which some students say ensures they can further their education.
Erin McDowell is seeking to further her education in her own hometown, a task which can be daunting for those living in regional areas.
I've tried distance education before and it just doesn't work for me. You're just a name in the cloud, really.
Her and 4 other Uni Hub Spencer Golf students have been awarded with up to $6,000 in scholarships to help them advance their learning paths. An opportunity they say will help them stay on studying locally.
We're a community-owned organisation, so when community members come forward with things like scholarships, it's a great privilege for us.
Justin Borland, a Port Perry social worker looking forward to a future in teaching. A sizable grant helping forward his dream into becoming a reality.
So it's $1,000 to go towards my study. It's going to help out heaps.
A much welcome financial relief for some. Erin saying that furthering her education has proven to be more expensive than originally once thought.
Master's degrees are very expensive, as I'm finding out, so I probably would have opted not to if I didn't achieve the scholarships.
The scholarship made available through John Peary Secondary School, the Peary Partnership Group and an anonymous donor.
Their work nowadays is done through IT, and to have up-to-date computers and resources of that nature, I think the scholarship money goes a long way to helping them be able to do that.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us. Still to come tonight. After the break, we'll take a look at the latest fuel prices from around the region, and we'll have the weather details with Britt. Welcome back. Time now to take a look at how things are shaping up when we head to the local petrol bouncers. Here's Patrick Reinke with the weekly Fuel Watch.
Well, the end of July has brought with it a drop in most of the regional petrol prices. If townships weren't going down, they were breaking even. Starting with unleaded, and Port Lincoln has continued its run of green arrows, going down by about a cent. The average is $1.44. Whyalla has seen no movement but is no longer the cheapest in the Spencer Gulf. That honour goes to Port Pirie after it dropped to $1.38. Kadina is also down by 2 cents, while Port Augusta holds at $1.41. Here in Broken Hill, prices look to be on the way down. We're still paying around $1.48. The cycle has started again for Adelaide. City motorists are forking out around $1.57 a litre to fill up. Turning over to diesel now, and despite all the red and green, prices are about the same as last week. Whyalla and Kadina are still at $1.49 despite going up a bit. Port Lincoln joins after a slight decline. Port Augusta and Port Pirie are a cent cheaper, while in Broken Hill we're paying $1.54. Adelaide rounds out the board with a cent coming off the price. It's at $1.43. Finishing off with a look at autogas, a very quiet week was had by most towns. Port Lincoln has gone up by the barest of margins and is now paying 93 cents a litre, the same as Whyalla. A service station there is selling it for 86 cents, and it's dramatically reduced the Steel City's average from 99 cents last week. Elsewhere, Port Augusta is on 89, Port Pirie at 83, Kadina also 89, and Broken Hill is averaging 87. Finally, in Adelaide, the City of Churches continues to go down, but is still paying a very, very cheap price of 79 cents. Now, of course, remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded, auto gas or diesel for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Now let's take a look at what's happening in this week's weather. Here's Britt.
Good evening. We've had a cold but mostly fine day about the region. Port Augusta reaching a top of 16, Whyalla and Port Pirie 15, Port Lincoln and Adelaide both 14, Broken Hill 13. Now let's look to the skies, where the high south of the Bight is still remaining stationary. To tomorrow now, and it's looking fairly calm on the Gulf waters, with southerly winds tending southeasterly at 10 knots and seas at 1 metre. And conditions tomorrow are looking much the same as today, with a frosty start at Clare and Port Augusta and possible showers about the lower Eyre Peninsula. Maximum temperatures all sitting in the same range as today. Port Augusta and Woodness 16, Whyalla, Port Lincoln and Port Pirie 15, Coffin Bay, Corn, Broken Hill, Cleve, Kadina and Adelaide all 14, Clare a top of 11. Looking ahead now, with Friday and Saturday remaining much the same, but temperatures warming up slightly into Sunday. Port Lincoln expecting a cloudy Friday ahead of a fine weekend. Cleve and Woodner both remaining fine and partly cloudy through the week. Partly cloudy days ahead for Whyalla and Kadina as well, much the same at Port Augusta, with a frosty morning expected on Saturday. Port Pirie and Broken Hill both looking fine and partly cloudy, Clare with frosty starts on Friday and Saturday. So Louise, after a chilly day today, it looks like we can expect more of the same over the coming days. Better keep rugged up.
Certainly looks like it. Thanks for that, Britt. And that's your local news this Wednesday evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll have updates later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.